Hello and welcome to the youthservice.net website training. To get started with the youth services, you'll have to type in the URL to get to the website, which is www.youthservices.net. And what will come up on your screen is what you see here. It's the home page for youth services. And you will see on the top right hand corner there's a little box around the login. You will want to click on to login. Now, for this training, I am going to use the North Dakota sample site so that we can just sample it without having names of students from school districts. However, each of you for your school should have a username and password, and that will be what you use when you get to this page. So I have North Dakota and my password is sample, and this is also a place where you can go to sample before you fill in your information. It's just a place where you can play around with information and it's not going to be recorded anywhere. So I am going to enter the system, and you will see that it comes to my home page. Now on the home page at the top right hand corner you will see a yellow button. Now you will always see these yellow buttons as we go through the trainings when you need to edit information. So I am going to click on the edit information button, and you will see that we get a new page here that has some red lines on it. Now it's very important throughout all of the things you do on the Youth Services website that you fill out all required information between those two red lines. So to start with, it will have your agency name in there once you have your username and password. Now for us, we are going to fill out, yes, we are an active school. However, for some reason, if one of your sites becomes inactive, you would click on inactive. Now, the partner organization type, for most of North Dakota, it will be a school. There are a couple YMCAs who also have programs within their facility. But for me, I'm going to fill in school. Now, receiving grant fund for its contribution. Is the school receiving monies for their after school, before school programs? And yes, our schools do that. Okay, types of contributions. Now, the programming and activity related services, are these services being held within the school? If they are within the YMCA, you are contributing services, so you would click on that. Goods and materials, are there things that belong to the schools or the YMCAs that the after school and before school programs are using? Then if that is the case, you would check that off. Volunteer staffing, if there is staff that works in your school or in your YMCA during the day and they might volunteer in the program so they're not getting any funding from the program, then you would click that off. Paid staffing, if you have staff within your before school and after school programs, you would mark that off. Evaluation services, if your principals, superintendents, teachers are filling out evaluations or giving you ideas on things that they think would be positive for the before school and after school programs, they are giving evaluation services, so you would check that off. Funding or raised funds. If your school library decided to have a book drive and the money went towards the before school and after school program, then that would be raised funds. It's not coming directly from the funding for the 21st century CCLC programs. It's coming from something that somebody else has raised and then is giving to you. In-kind donations. This would be paper, pencils, tape, anything that you're using within your school that the 21st century program is not paying for, but the school is providing as a service for this program. Technical assistance. That would be if you have a tech person in your school who is providing assistance for your computers if it would break down or they need to help you with programming. That would be technical assistance. We're not necessarily paying for it, but it's a contribution to our program. Setting goals and objectives. If your superintendents and principals, teachers, whoever within your school are getting together to help set goals and objectives for the before school and after school programs, then you would check that off as well. Share techniques for conducting activities. If you are working with other organizations within the school, or if one of those organizations say might help you prior to running something in your school, I'm just thinking of like a PTA or PTO, they would be sharing techniques for conducting activities, so you would check that off. And then anything that doesn't fall into these categories but is a contribution to your program, you would check that off and then explain what the other is. So those are the required fields for this home page. However, there is information on the bottom that I would highly recommend filling out, just because it helps you if you need to pull information quickly. It's right there. Agency categories. If you have any of these agencies helping within your program, so community-based organizations, an example would be the NDSU Extension. Your local libraries, you would check that off. They are agencies that help contribute to your organization. Faith-based organizations, if you have any pastors or clergies who would come in and do activities in your program, then you would check that off as well. Regional or intermediate education agencies, that would go kind of along with the NDSU Extension. Those are kind of regional. You could check that off as well. The host school, for the most part, host schools are going to be providing some type of contribution to your activities, so you would check that off. Feeder schools, if you have a middle school program and you have an elementary school who is going to be feeding into your middle school program and they are contributing somehow, then you would check that off. And then any other partners that don't fit into these categories, you would check that off as well. You'll want to fill out, like I said, it's not required, but the contact information is what shows up on your home page. So you'll want to fill out where your program is located, the city, the state, the zip code, who the directors are, an email of who the directors are. It's just quick information to be able to access. And then other information, if you want to provide that, is their insurance. Most of your programs are covered under the insurance of the school or the YMCA in which you are conducting your after-school, before-school programs. MOU are contracts. You could put that yes or no. Estimated monetary contribution, if there's someone, once again, that has contributed money, what is the estimate of exactly how much money has been contributed? And then enter the date of those contributions. And then there's just a no category there for anything that you'd like to note or describe about any contributions or insurance. So once you have filled out all that information, if you go back to the top of the page, you will see that there's a delete, save, and return button. We're going to want to save our information, so we're going to click on the save button, and then we are going to return to our home page to look it over and make sure that everything is filled out how we want it to be filled out. So that concludes the first training on how to fill out the information on your home page.